Today on Gunslinger Firearms Gear, we have an assortment of semi-automatic 22 pistols to test and see how they function with different kinds of ammunition, from hyper velocity down to subsonic. We have two Walther P22s, a first generation P22 and a current generation, a Ruger SR22, and a Beretta Model 71.
All of these pistols also have threaded barrels so that you can attach a muzzle device or a suppressor if you wish.
That's correct. We're not going to test any with suppressors today or anything, but just more or less an overview of popular 22 handguns, and just kind of get an idea how they function with certain types of ammunition, or how they may not function with certain types of ammunition. Okay, this Beretta Model 71 was imported by Sentry as a replica of a Israeli Mossad pistol. It was imported with this to make it legal for importation, and I have actually worked on this to remove it. It's not absolutely necessary to have it on there. As a matter of fact, it makes it heavy, and we have taken that off, and so now we have a nice lightweight little pistol that hasn't been offered in the United States for some years. What we're going to do is we're going to shoot every one of these with one magazine full of CCI Stingers each, and see how they function, and we'll get going. Okay, going to fire a few rounds with the Beretta Model 71 with the CCI Stingers. Had a malfunction on the first shot. A gun this old may have not been quite designed for a hypervelocity round. I'm going to clear it and try again. Clearly couldn't see even where it was even firing. I fired this gun before with standard velocity rounds, and it didn't shoot too bad. This ammunition may not just be for this gun. I think we're going to just go ahead and call it quits on this one and go to another model. Now I'm going to take a few shots with the Walther P22 second generation, or the Q model, with the CCI Stingers. And it seems to shoot them quite well.
I'm going to run the CCI Stingers through the Ruger SR22. This is a first generation Walther P22 with the CCI Stingers. The SR22 had no malfunctions and seemed to hit pretty well on target. You always want to be careful whenever you're loading your magazines to inspect your ammunition. We opened up this brand new box of Winchester and found this as we were loading one of the magazines. That's not something that you want to end up putting through your gun.
Okay, Terry and I are each going to fire some of the Winchester. It's just a round nose Super X bullet, 40 grain. We're going to try that in each one of the handguns. First, I'm going to try the Ruger SR22. Next, I'm going to shoot the first generation P22 with the Winchester. Now it's Terry's turn.
All right, Winchester through the second generation Walther P22. Now we're going to do the Winchester through the Beretta Model 71. And we have malfunction. near that. Same malfunction again. And it did not completely eject the brass. It's still laying in there. Made it through the last 3 rounds though. CCI Mini-Mags through the Ruger SR22. CCI Mini-Mag through the 2nd generation Walther P22. That's it, Mr. Rubber Dummy.
I'm going to shoot the Beretta Model 71 with the CCI Mini-Mag.
I think that's the best that's shot.
It shot pretty good. It was slightly up and to the left. It fired through every single round without a malfunction. It definitely didn't like the CCI Stingers at all, but it didn't seem to mind that. I actually shot a few rounds of something else, threw it between shots, and it was shooting incredibly high. It wasn't shooting that bad then. I'm going to move on to the 1st generation Walther P22 with the CCI Mini-Mags. Well, I'm going to try to hit the rubber dummy out there. Okay, now I'm going to take a few shots with the Beretta Model 71 with American Eagle. Malfunction. Going to clear that. I'll try it again. Another malfunction, same thing. Same thing. Ah, worked that time. It didn't extract it and didn't lock back on the last round. Gonna have to clear that one by other means. It's actually swollen in the chamber. We'll clear that and come back to it. Okay, now I've got the round that was in the chamber out of there. It was swelled up. Maybe it doesn't like this particular gun. You know, we've had a few problems with it prior. We're just going to move on to the next gun. And that's the Ruger SR22 with the American Eagle 22. Alright, now it's Terry's turn.
I'll start off with the first generation Walther P22 and the American Eagle, and I'll move on to the second gen P22 with the American Eagle. Failure to fire. There was no round in the chamber, I don't think. Nice little malfunction there. Alright, it did not extract that casing on the other round. This is not like the American Eagle. Now we'll move on to the second gen with the American Eagle. Functioned fine in that one.
Now I'm going to fire the first generation Walther P22 with CCI standard velocity. I don't expect these to run through it, but it's just a trial. Apparently I was wrong, and it shot really well. Now I'm going to move on to the second generation, or Q model, P22 with the standard velocity CCI. And it functioned flawlessly also.
Gonna give the Beretta Model 71 a shot with the standard velocity CCI. Functioned fine. Seems to like it. Now we'll go for the Ruger SR22 with the standard velocity CCI. No failures as of yet.
Okay, now I'm going to try a few more rounds of the in the Walther P22 first generation with CCI Quiet 22s. This is only a 710 feet per second load. Even the standard velocity is going 1070. So this is quite a bit slower. It is meant for suppressed firearms. If it runs, I'd be incredibly surprised. It ejected and did not feed another round. Rubber Ducky took a hit on the chin, and it did not feed another round. And we have a stovepipe. And a failure to eject. And another failure to eject. Almost, but not quite. Gonna move on now to the Beretta Model 71 with the CCI Quiet 22. It did not extract at all.
CCI Quiet 22 in the Gen 2 Walther P22. Now we'll move on to the Quiet 22 in the Ruger SR22. That one ejected, but it did not chamber the next round. And we got a stovepipe on that one. It ejected the casing, but did not chamber the next round. And we're empty.
Now I'm going to shoot a few rounds of CCI segmented hollow point subsonic. It's going 1,050 feet per second with a 40 grain bullet. I'm going to do that first in the second generation Walther P22. All rounds fed and fired fine. I could really tell this hitting pretty hard actually on the rubber dummy. I'm going to move on to the Ruger SR22 with the same cartridge, the CCI segmented hollow point subsonic. It did the same thing, fed all the cartridges, and I was doing headshots on the rubber dummy, and it rocked him pretty good for a 22.
5 rounds of the segmented hollow point subsonic through the Beretta Model 71. Seems to be pretty accurate. The gun cycled it just fine. Now moving on to the Walther P22 Gen 1. Okay, the Gen 1 ejected the round but did not chamber the second. The rest of the round cycled through it just fine. All right, what did you like best out of the 4?
Well, believe it or not, I like the Gen 1 P22 as far as trigger and shooting. It didn't work reliably with every single one of the cartridges. I've had that happen with these prior, but I like the way that it shot. You know, believe it or not, the little Beretta Model 71, when it found an ammunition that it liked, which it was incredibly finicky, it shot good. If it didn't like the ammunition, it didn't shoot it worth a hoot. The Ruger shot well, the trigger was good overall, but personally I had a little sporadic accuracy, just trying to figure out the trigger. The second gen P22 shot decent, but the single action trigger on it was pretty hard. Out of the four, I disliked that trigger the most out of all of them. What do you think, Terry?
Yeah, I agree. I disliked the trigger in the Gen 2 more than the rest. The trigger in the SR22, it's not my favorite. It's a little squishy. Seems like it has a little bit of a long reset. But overall, I like the gun. It shoots well, and I enjoy shooting it. The Beretta, when it found ammunition that I liked, I really enjoyed shooting it.
Yeah.
I like the trigger in that gun a lot.
Yeah.
But as far as the other three go, the best trigger out of the three is definitely the Gen 1 P22.
Yeah, I mean, the point to put out here, I mean, you know, this gun right here is a 40-plus-year-old firearm. Yeah, and you know, it was designed at a time when this variety of ammunition wasn't even around. I don't know exactly what its intended cartridge was, because we don't have the suppressor or whatever that the Israelis or whatever had designed for it, if this is even an Israeli gun. It's just, you know, something that's Century imported. Well, this gun's had quite a few rounds put through it. It is really finicky on ammunition. This one hasn't had a lot of rounds put through it. It wasn't real finicky on ammo, but that trigger was just incredibly hard. The Ruger SR22 wasn't really finicky either. I mean,
No.
it fed really well. We didn't have any real, you know, gun-related malfunctions. One thing that I like about it is has a decocking safety on it. So, you know, when the gun is in that single action mode, you can just trip down, and that controls ambidextrous, and it will put the gun, you know, let the hammer fall down, decock it. That's a nice feature, but if you forget you've got it on, you definitely know you've got a dead trigger. It stays back. That's one thing I don't like about it. I wish it would swing through, but you know, just when you put the safety back up, it's that way until you actually, you know, were to cycle the gun again. You have to push it forward. So that is one thing I don't like about these. You know, if you actually have that trigger depressed while you have it on safe, you've got to push it forward if you want the gun to fire when you have it, you know, back on. You know, so it's kind of a different trigger. But the sights are nice on it. I picked them up pretty good.
Yeah.
You know, that's a good feature. The magazine, you know, safety it's got on here. These have got magazine safeties on them. The Beretta does not. That's the only thing I don't like about that, is that dead, you know, trigger. You know, when you flip it back up, it's here. You know, but it's just, you know, a quirk. You know, just one of the things. But it's just something that I don't like. The one neat thing I do like about this gun too is you just have to pull this grip off to change to another sized grip. You don't need a tool or anything like that. The Walthers both, you'd have to have a punch and a hammer or punch or whatever to take this roll pin out just to change your back strap, which it has another one that comes with it also. Both of them do. They don't have a decocking safety. They do have there's no magazine in there, magazine safety. You know, so I mean, if you have a round in the chamber and you don't want to have that gun with the hammer back, you've got to put it on safe, and you've got to, you know, thumb your hammer, you know, forward. Yeah, so I mean, I don't care for that part. The decocker here, it is a plus. And another thing, Terry, do you think that Ruger could have designed this pistol without the influence of the Walther P22?
To me, that pistol looks a lot like a scaled down version of the Ruger American, but the similarities between it and the Walther P22 are, I mean, they're obvious.
Yeah, but this gun also predates the Ruger American by probably 4 years. That's so. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, you know, if a barrel, the way that the barrel is and so on, I'll put it to you this way: if they did take some, you know, cues from this gun, they really did update the design quite a bit with an ambidextrous magazine release, ambidextrous decocking safety, the decocking safety versus a non-decocking safety, a stainless steel barrel. The sight's a little bit better quality. So, I mean, the gun feels good, the gun functions good. I really do like the SR22. And of course, this is American made, these are made in Germany, and this is made in Italy.
I'm not extremely familiar with Ruger's handguns, but isn't there an SR9?
Yes, yeah, the SR9, it's a slimline double stack striker fired, actually Ruger's first striker fired center fire handgun.
So are there any similarities between the SR22 and the SR9?
Absolutely not. The back strap is a different deal with it. It's not a double action, single action gun. You know, it even aesthetically, it looks a hell of a lot more like a Walther than it does any other Ruger design. You know, another point I kind of want to get back on too, Terry, was the magazines. You know, loading a small 22 round into a magazine sometimes can be a little difficult. The magazines, both on the Ruger and the Walther, have little nibs on here that you can pull back to help you put more rounds in it. The Ruger has got, you know, something on both sides. If you had to, right or left-handed, you can pull back on the follower to help you load the magazines. The Walther has it on one side, but they're a good quality stainless steel magazine. These aren't stainless, but it's a good quality magazine. I don't think we had anything as far as what I consider a magazine malfunction.
No.
You know, the Beretta is a antiquated, you know, design. It is a lot harder to load than what these are. It also, where these have got a magazine release here or a magazine release here, the magazine release on the Beretta is down towards the butt of the grip on the side. Beretta's known for that. They've done that with other models that they've had. The 1951 Brigadier, even some of the first gen 92s had a release here. Their Model 21s, 950s, so on. That's where their magazine release is, and that's what it's known for, and that's where its keeper is for the magazine itself, or its intercepts. You know, I mean, I had fun shooting all of them, and they all shot pretty good. What do you think about our selection of ammunition we had?
Oh, I think we had a great selection of ammunition today.
Yeah.
Some of it a little bit older, but
well, in today's market with 22s, you can't, you know, beggars can't be choosers. I mean, this box of Stingers, I took a price tag on it that had, I think it was $2.85. So it's been around a little bit. It functioned well, but it's been around a little bit. The box of standard velocity CCIs had a price tag of $4.67, odd number, but still cheaper than what it is right now. So it just, you know, things that I've collected or Terry's had and that we've had around. But, you know, it's all domestic ammunition. I didn't try these with any of the foreign choices that are out there now, Aguila and you know, and the like. You know, getting back on ammo too, the two choices that we had that really choked the guns up the most was and not surprisingly, the Ruger Quiet 22 with only a 710 feet per second round. But the one that really tripped every single one of the guns up, except for maybe the Ruger.
I believe the Ruger did function with that one.
I think it functioned fine with it. I think the others didn't care for this American Eagle too well. I've had, you know, similar experiences with it too. Just where it's supposed to be a high velocity 38 grain copper plated hollow point. That sounds fancy, but the round sucks. I guess they're good for plinking, but if you want to practice malfunction drills.
Right.
So
back to the guns for just a second. One thing that I would like to point out about the Walthers and the SR22. I am not a fan of this paddle style magazine release. It's I don't know what it is about it that I don't like, because you can still hit it with your thumb like you could a button release, but I just don't care for that. I prefer the button style magazine release that the SR22 has. And this one is a little wonky to get used to, but you know, whatever.
I've seen quite a few people have, they'll pick one of these up and they're like sitting there playing with it, trying to get the magazine out of it, because, you know, the magazine release follows the contour of the trigger guard. And a lot of German guns, Walther, HK, so on, follow this same design, and where it is actually, you know, ambidextrous, and I find myself using my trigger finger from my shooting hand to actually use that because of the size of my hand. It's kind of hard to use it and, you know, utilize it any other way. But, you know, it's an acquired taste. I've had a lot of people complain over the years about that release like that. So I mean, yeah, you're warranted in not liking it. I mean, this is a release that about everybody that's got a semi-automatic is used to.
I think that's really what it comes down to, is the fact that that's what I'm more used to.
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. So I mean, with everything we had, you know, we're just not trying to prove much of anything other than the fact that, you know, with some of these smaller guns that are really popular on the market right now, I mean, this is something that was imported here in this last, you know, year or two, and I've seen quite a few of those out there on YouTube and so on. And it just, you know, something that was kind of an enthralling little gun that, you know, hasn't been imported for, you know, close to 50 years because of the 1968 gun ban, Gun Control Act. With that faux suppressor that they had on it, it got to come in, and so just include this in there to kind of mix it up a little bit. You know, these are kind of redundant, but the two generations are a little different as far as the slide contour and so on. You know, the grip and everything feels quite a bit different. But I've noticed that the first generations are a lot more finicky on ammunition than the second generation, and truthfully, I've never seen a problem with a Ruger SR22. They've been a really stellar gun since they came out.
Alright guys, be sure to like us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube, and stay tuned. We'll have more videos coming your way.
Thanks guys.
What are you doing?
I want to be like every gamer. I want to dual wield.